A very good afternoon to everyone. Welcome to our online workshop celebrating World Intellectual Property Day. Today, we have gathered here to delve into the fascinating intersection of green technology, IP, and enforcement of intellectual property rights. It's my pleasure. Am I audible? Please let me know. May I please know, am I audible? Thank you, sir. Sure, sir. Let me check.
Hi, I'm able to turn on my mic now, but my video is still the same. Not able to turn on my video.
Sure, ma'am. I'm working on it. Give me just 2 minutes.
No issues. Thank you. Hi, I think both the mic and video are working now.
Thank you, ma'am. Sorry for the inconvenience caused.
No issues.
So, again, welcome to our online workshop celebrating World Intellectual Property Day. Today, we have gathered here to delve into the fascinating intersection of green technology, IP, and enforcement of intellectual property rights. It's my pleasure to have you all join us today. Before we begin, let me introduce myself. My name is Gunita, and I will be your moderator for today's workshop. First and foremost, I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to each and every one of you for taking the time to join us today, especially to our HOD ma'am, Honorable Director Sir, and Chairman Sir, though in absentia, and to our all honorable faculty members. Throughout this workshop, we aim to explore the critical role that intellectual property plays in fostering innovation in the realm of green technology. From renewable energy solutions to eco-friendly manufacturing processes, the innovations we discuss today have the potential to shape a more sustainable future for the generations to come. I would like to express my sincere appreciation to our esteemed speakers. We are honored to have you with us. Before we begin our discussions, I encourage everyone to actively participate, ask questions, and engage with our speakers. Please make sure your phones are on silent mode. Once again, a warm welcome to each of you. Thank you for being here, and let's embark on this journey of exploration and discovery together. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my privilege to introduce our first speaker, Ms. Apurva Bhutani. Miss Apurva's journey in the legal arena is marked by her unwavering dedication and remarkable accomplishments. Like Mr. Yashwardhan, she is also an integral part of litigation team at Zurich IP, where her contributions have been instrumental in various disputes ranging from trademark infringements to patent litigation. Her expertise extends beyond border as she represents her clients across South Asian nations, including Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Nepal, and Bangladesh. Her versatile skills encompass prosecution and enforcement work before the trademark registry and appearances before the courts at all levels, from District Court to Supreme Court of India. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to Apurva Bhutani.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for the warm welcome and the introduction. Thanks to all the attendees and the respected faculty members for joining in today. It's an honor for us to be here and share our love and enthusiasm of intellectual property on the occasion of World IP Day with all of you. We shall try our best to make this session as informative and interesting as we can. I, along with Mr. Yashwardhan Singh, will be discussing the topic Enforcement in IP, tackling counterfeiting and piracy. Thereafter, Mr. Anmol Agarwal shall be discussing the topic Green Technology and IP. We have prepared a PPT for the ease of reference of all the attendees, and we are also going to screen share it. Can we please
Hi,
screen share the
I've requested for access for screen sharing. If you could kindly just look into that.
Is Mr. Singh audible?
Hi, am I audible?
I can hear you.
All right, all right.
Is the PPT visible to all the participants? Hi, is the screen visible? I'm not able to hear you.
Yes.
Yeah, I think now I can hear you. Sorry, I couldn't get you. Is the screen visible?
Yes, screen is visible, but the presentation is not visible as of now. Yes.
Okay. We're trying to share it once again.
Hi, is it visible now?
No, sir, unfortunately not. I think you need to close this window first. Where the poster is visible, you need to close it first.
Is it visible now?
Yes, it's visible.
All right. So I won't be able to go into full screen, but I think Apurva, you can continue.
Yeah. So once again, thanks to all of you for joining in. Let's begin with today's workshop. So at the
Yes.
outset, we will be looking at what Yeah, so at the outset, we will be looking at what intellectual property really is, why one should protect the creations of the intellect, how does creations of the intellect become a property, etc. So, to understand what intellectual property really is, let's take an example. For example, let's say this mobile phone. So there are multiple layers of intellectual property in this mobile phone. If you will see, there's a logo at the back of this mobile phone which represents the brand of the mobile phone. It has an integrated software which enables the functioning of the phone. That is how surrounded we are by IP in today's date. It would be absolutely correct to say that most of the things we are surrounded by are a creation of human intellect. This was just a small example. Now, let's understand what intellectual property is. So, as to give a definition, intellectual property is the unique value creation of human intellect that results from human resourcefulness, creativity, and inventiveness. It is basically a property of one's mind and one's intellect. It is noteworthy that intellectual property is actually as old as mankind. For as long as mankind has existed, mankind has always possessed intellectual property. The protection of intellectual property, however, has not always been there. The importance of protection has not always been highlighted. This is because, in its primal state, all intellectual property created by man was geared towards his survival. For example, a wheel was also created by someone, and a wheel is arguably the greatest creation of the intellect, however, it was not protected. So, when man formed societies and developed complex systems to serve the increasing needs of the societies, that's when the need for protection of intellectual property actually emerged. Now, after understanding what intellectual property really is, let's understand what are the intellectual property rights. Can we go back to the earlier slide? Thank you. So, in simple words, intellectual property rights are specific legal rights which are aimed to protect the creation of the intellect. Intellectual property rights, in fact, contribute to most of the knowledge, innovation, as well as the technology that goes into a product. In today's date, the main reason behind the growth of the economies is actually intellectual property. So, for example, if I design a table or maybe a sofa with all my ingenuity, nobody can freely come and copy it. Basically, anything one produces from one's mind is their intellectual creation. And once you create something novel and original, you have the right to protect and also enforce those rights in the said creation by reaching out to the appropriate authorities. Now, let's understand what are the types of intellectual properties that we can protect. As to understand the essence of intellectual property, I will just quickly glance through all the types of the intellectual properties very briefly. So, let's start with patents. Anything which is of technical nature that one originally invents is a patent. Innovation is the essence of a patent. For example, Alexander Graham Bell invented a telephone and got a patent for the telephone instrument as well as the concept of the telephone system. It won't be wrong to say that till today, the patent of a telephone is often referred to as the most valuable patent ever issued. Now we'll come to the validity. So the validity of a patent is 20 years from the date it is applied for. Now let's jump to copyright. So any song, movie, poem, or maybe a drawing or a painting that I make will come under a copyright. The validity of a copyright is that for the lifetime of the author plus 60 years from the death of the author. Now, my favorite and the one that I find the most interesting, trademarks. So, from the moment that you wake up until all of you reach your college, I'm sure all of you come across n number of trademarks. For example, the face wash that you use, or the watch that you wear, or the shoes that you wear. In fact, the car that you sit in, or the Ola Uber that you book, all of them have trademark value. So, trademarks, to put simply, are logos, words, names, symbols, numbers, taglines, etc., that help one identify the source of a product. A trademark is valid for 10 years and can be renewed after every 10 years for an infinite period of time. Now let's understand what are industrial designs. For example, if I design a stool or maybe a chair in a unique design, I can today claim rights in that particular design with the help of intellectual property. I will give an example. So you must have seen the 3D pop sockets that we use on our mobile phones. Those are a registered design. Then the shape of a Coca-Cola bottle, if you can see on these screens, this has also been registered as a design. A design registration is valid for 10 years and post 10 years, it can also be renewed for 5 years. Now, the fifth one, geographical indications. So, a geographical indication is basically a name or a sign used on products which corresponds to the geographical location or origin that particular product belongs to. For example, a town or a region. So, Darjeeling tea is one of the many examples of geographical indications. So, we can move to the next slide. Yeah. So why one should protect their ideas or their intellectual property rights? So to understand this, let's just move on to the next slide. And I would request all of you to look at your screens and think about the mark that comes to your mind after looking at this picture. I am sure everybody can think of Gucci. Yeah, so can we move to the next slide? Yes, a Wonderland, Woodland. Yeah, next slide, please. So in this slide, we've provided a comparison. On the left side is the original mark, on the right side is the infringing mark. So please look at the similarity between the original mark and the ones which are adopted by the infringers, so as to come as close as possible to the real mark. Also, you would be surprised to know that these logos are not just adopted by infringers, but the infringers have also tried to claim rights in these logos by filing a trademark application. That's where counterfeiting and piracy has reached today. So basically, this is where the need to protect your intellectual property arises. So, just like when a person owns a property, such as a house or a land, one always tries to get a certificate or some papers to prove that that particular property belongs to them. Likewise, one can and one always should protect the property that is created through their intellect. IP rights are a form of recognition which help the inventors or creators to reap benefits out of their original creations and ensure that the rights of the owner of an intellectual property are not breached by infringers, for example, who come up with the mark Gucci. So now, since Gucci has proper statutory rights, they have enforced their trademark rights, they can come up and stop such infringers from using marks like Gucci. So, all in all, in today's time, protection of intellectual property is the need of the hour, as intellectual property rights are one of the sources of security for intangible properties which are open to the public and which can be quickly replicated in today's digital era. So to give an example, I think most of you must have seen Shark Tank and how the sharks emphasize on the packaging of a product or the brand name or a company name that one has adopted for their company or the product. So that is how intellectual property has become today. The investors check all of these things before investing. These startups, in fact, today are investing a considerable time as well as amount in ensuring that their businesses are IP friendly. I hope this is clear. So now we can jump on to, we will take your questions at the end. So if you have any questions, I would request all of you to note them down and we can take all of them at the end. Now let's understand why we celebrate World Intellectual Property Day. So, to spread awareness about intellectual property and to encourage the investors and creators, the World Intellectual Property Day is celebrated every year on 26th day of April. The World IP Day is an initiative by World Intellectual Property Organization. This day is said to be the largest public outreach campaign by World Intellectual Property Organization. Every year, a specific theme is set by WIPO to celebrate World IP Day. So the theme for this year, can we move to the next slide? Yeah, thank you. So the theme for this year is intellectual property and sustainable development goals, building a common future and with innovation and creativity. So the main point of this theme is sustainable development goals. So before moving ahead, let's quickly understand what are sustainable development goals. These sustainable development goals are also known as global goals, which were adopted by United Nations in the year 2015 as a universal call to action to end poverty, protect the planet, and to ensure that by 2030 all the people enjoy peace and prosperity. There are in total 17 sustainable developments as declared by United Nations, all of which are reflected on your screen. I hope everybody has glanced to the screen. Now, let's come to the main aspect of today's discussion, which is why enforcement in IP is important and how counterfeiting and piracy are acting as a hindrance to the sustainable development goals. So, to understand this, let's first understand what is actually counterfeiting. Counterfeits are basically fake products of the replicas or unauthorized replicas of genuine products available in the market. Counterfeit products in today's date can range from designer goods to pharmaceuticals, even electronics. Whereas now let's move on to piracy. Piracy is unauthorized copying, distribution, or use of copyrighted material without the permission from the copyright owner. For example, all of us have seen movies on our mobile phones on some pirated website before their release in the theaters. So, this is what piracy is. Now, let's understand what is the enforcement of IP. So, unfortunately, in today's state, IP crimes have become a part and parcel of the digital era, leading to failure of businesses. Therefore, enforcement of IP has become the need of the hour. Enforcement of IP right often helps creators to create a positive environment and it also contributes to the development of key industries. So, to give a better understanding of what counterfeiting is, some example of counterfeit products which are easily available in the market are replicas of high-end luxury goods such as watches, bags, belts, replicas of electronic products such as mobile phones, computers, TVs, gaming devices. So much so that the replicas of household and personal care products such as laundry detergents are also available in market in today's date. In fact, replicas of vehicle parts, including brakes, are also available in the market. Some examples of the counterfeit products are also reflected on the screens on the screen. Okay. So, to get rid of these counterfeiters, it becomes extremely important for IP owners to enforce their rights and to help the public from getting duped and trapped by these counterfeiters. Now, let's discuss the impact of counterfeiting and piracy on sustainable development goals. So, counterfeits and pirated goods definitely have a negative impact on some of the SDGs. Out of 17, 9 SDGs are negatively impacted by counterfeiting and piracy. These these are the 9 SDGs are: first one is no poverty, second one is good health and well-being, third is quality education, next is clean water and sanitization. Next is decent work and economic growth. Next is industry innovation and infrastructure. Next is responsible consumption and production. And the last one is peace, justice, and strong institutions. So, the impact of counterfeiting and piracy is a direct threat to the achievement of sustainable development goals. This is because counterfeit and pirated goods are produced outside the normal channels of commerce with little regard to the environment, health, safety regulations, and standards. Furthermore, counterfeiting and piracy also hamper the growth of national economies, depriving legitimate enterprises of their turnovers. Now, let's discuss how each of these 9 SDGs personally impact the Sustainable Development Goals. So, let's first discuss SDG 1, which is no poverty, along with SDG 3, that is good health and well being. So, the prevalence of counterfeit goods poses direct as well as indirect risks to consumers and the broad society, thereby undermining the good health and well being of the consumers. This is particularly so because legal manufacturers abide by n number of regulations and invest heavily in innovation and product development, with brands serving as guarantees of quality and safety. In contrast, these counterfeiters actually make their money by sidestepping product safety regulations. They also ignore environmental controls, environment and labor laws. So, by free abiding on the research and development of others, these counterfeiters are all over the market. As a result, these counterfeit goods are often of substandard quality and are of unknown and sometimes even dubious chemical material compositions. For example, batteries or cigarettes, lighters that explode, toys with pain toxicity, or baby formulas which can cause serious injury to the baby's health. So much so that there are some counterfeit electronic goods as well available in the market that may cause death through explosions or unregulated heat burns. Even relatively harmless goods such as watches, bags, can pose great risk to consumers when counterfeiters use potentially harmful products while making them. Let's move on to the next SDG, which is decent work and economic growth. So, counterfeit and pirated goods have a significant negative impact on economic growth as well as job creation. So, this figure I would like to quote. According to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, international trade in fake goods was more than US dollar 461 billion in 2013, which is as much as 5% of all the goods imported into the European Union being counterfeit. This figure excludes digital piracy, which in 2015 alone was estimated to be more than US dollar 200 billion. So, a series of studies published in this regard by European Union Intellectual Property Office in 2016 found that counterfeiting and piracy actually cause 7 lakh 90,000 jobs every year. In addition to displacing these legitimate jobs and economic activity, counterfeit fighting also challenges the UN objectives for fair and legal employment. Fakes are often produced under unethical, unregulated, and poor working conditions, utilizing child labor and coerced migrants. This hampers the efforts to achieve sustainable development goals and one of its very main targets, which is to protect labor rights and promote safe and secure working environment for all the workers. This was a brief regarding Goal 8. Now, to discuss the remaining Sustainable Development Goals, I would like to call Mr. Yashwardhan Singh to take the discussion forward.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I hope I'm audible.
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, all right, perfect. Yes, someone was saying something.
No,
Sir,
we
I
were
was
just.
addressing,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I was addressing your question only that you were.
Sure, sure. You may continue. I think, should I move on or
Apurva ma'am, you want to continue or shall I introduce Mr. Yashwardhan Singh?
You can please introduce Mr. Yashwardhan. Thank you.
A very big thank you to you for your engaging session. Your invaluable insights have truly enriched our workshop experience. Next, it's my honor to introduce Mr. Yashwardhan Singh, who is a distinguished graduate of Symbiosis Law School, Pune. Yashwardhan's journey in the legal realm is marked by his exceptional dedication, and as a vital member of the litigation team at Zuvis IP, he routinely represents clients before district courts, high courts, and Supreme Court of India. He specializes in advising clients on strategies for protecting and enforcing their intellectual property rights. His expertise extends to conducting civil and criminal raids to combat trademark and copyright infringement nationwide. Notably, Mr. Yashwardhan has played a pivotal role in a landmark decision of Delhi High Court on certification trademarks. Additionally, he actively contributes to the commercial practice of his firm, from litigating commercial arbitration to handling recovery matters. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to Yashwardhan Singh.
thank you. Thank you for the welcome. I, along with Apurva, am co-presenting on this topic. and I'll be talking about the further sustainable development goals and their impact from counterfeiting and piracy. Now, I'll be talking about the ninth goal, first of all, which is industry, innovation, and infrastructure. Now, what the United Nations meant by this goal was that by 2030, we have to promote infrastructure and an industry in all nations in such a manner that it is sustainable and it aligns with all the other sustainable development goals, which is improving health, ending poverty, etc. How does counterfeiting come in the picture? How does counterfeiting affect this ninth goal of the United Nations? First and foremost, one has to always remember that the country with a weak IP regime is never considered a good country for either investment purposes or for collaboration by other foreign countries, which is why investors, being foreign countries, foreign nationals, don't trust countries with weak IP regimes. India has been blessed since 1991, post the liberalization and globalization stage. It has been blessed with a very good IP regime. I mean, it has even signed the treaties by WIPO, which is the World Intellectual Property Organization, to further such goals, including with the World Trade Organization as well. What, but as Apurva has already explained, counterfeiting is the production of fake goods. Piracy is a form of copyright infringement where you produce fake movies, audios, books, etc. This disincentivizes innovation at the very outset. For example, if I was a manufacturer and I came to be aware of goods which are not only sold at a much cheaper rate, but also at a quality which I am not able to match with, and which consumers prefer over my own original goods, then I won't have the incentive to carry forward to produce better quality goods, or perhaps even redefine and revise my own goods. So, which is why this intensifies innovation as well as research and development from other nations. As I've already explained, countries with a weak IP regime are not preferred by foreign nationals and investors. Of course, this counterfeiting and piracy negatively also impacts other sustainable development goals, being goal number one, ending poverty, goal number four, that is education, and goal number eight, which is decent work and economic growth. Now, there are many industries here which are inherently dependent on intellectual properties. For example, if I take just one intellectual property, that is IP, cinema, music, software, I mean, graphic designers, advertisers, all of them depend on copyright laws to protect what is truly created by them, an original creation of them. You might have noticed certain cases before the Delhi High Court recently, which have been filed by movie producers and organizations against websites which are unauthorizedly producing or marketing their films. Right, these companies approach the courts for injunctions and to take down these websites so that people actually prefer watching them on Netflix and in theaters rather than on phones by downloading them from spurious torrented websites. Patent intensive industries also take a very large hit uh, when when the issue of counterfeiting and piracy is considered. Most importantly, the pharmaceutical industry. The reason being that the pharmaceutical industry is inherently linked to each individual's health. A counterfeiter, as I'll explain in the further slides, is not really concerned with your good health. He is concerned with his good profits. So, a counterfeiter in a pharmaceutical industry would make a fake medicine which may look like the original and may even have ingredients listed which are similar to the original products, but may not actually have those, or may have actually such ingredients which are harmful to the human body. Chemical industry, the aerospace industry, motor vehicles, and the engineering industry also take a large hit. In terms of the ninth goal, IP theft has most recently been noticed by a lot of countries, especially coming from countries like China. Hackers, cyber crimers, they usually take are behind the IP technologies of large companies as well as governmental organizations. Recently, a few years back, China had a few cyber criminals, or actually a few cyber criminals were traced back to China who were attacking the US Defense Department for their patents, which they had either filed or they were in the process of developing certain innovations. And these cyber criminals were looking forward to obtain these and sell them to the Chinese government for profits. So, of course, the cross-border implications of IP theft is also a large concern when we look at the goal of promoting a good industry and promoting innovation in the world. Moving on to the next three goals, I'll take them together: 6, 12, and 15. All these three goals deal with the environmental implications of the Sustainable Development Goals. Now, as I've already said, counterfeiters have zero responsibilities. Their only incentive is profits, which is why, first of all, when they make goods, they are not really concerned with how those goods will be disposed of. There is no proper waste management system implemented by a counterfeiter, which, interestingly, a lot of the large companies are doing nowadays. You are seeing fast fashion companies like H&M and Zara taking up huge steps towards sustainability and sustainable fashion. But counterfeiters who make fake H&M goods or fake Gucci products, they are not really concerned with the environmental impacts. They're not concerned with which materials they make their goods, whether they are toxic to the human body or whether they are toxic to the environment at large when you dispose such goods, right? There are storage concerns and destruction concerns. I'll be addressing destruction in the next slide. But storage concerns in the sense that a lot of these goods, when they are not sold, they are probably kept in shady places and shady areas, which are eaten up by animals, or maybe they are disposed of in rivers without any governmental regulations or governmental checks, which are consequently done on legitimate businesses. Again, uh, yes, the last one thing I'll come to is problem of disposal of counterfeits in terms of these above three goals. Now, as you can see in this picture, these are counterfeit goods being destroyed by the customs authorities of the United States and the Philippines. Uh, Interestingly, most counterfeit goods come from China and Hong Kong. That is, nearly 70% of the counterfeit goods in the world are produced by China or they are produced in Hong Kong. Which is no surprise, I guess, seeing the made in China labels everywhere. Excuse me. But the problem here and the environmental concerns here are regarding the disposal of counterfeits. The most preferred method of disposing counterfeit goods by any customs authority around the world, whether it be in India or the United States, is by burning these goods. Of course, burning causes pollution. Of course, burning is a legitimate concern even today. But counterfeit goods are often made of toxic chemicals and toxic plastics. Burning these not only lead to a greater scale of air pollution, they are also um, not helpful to the environment in any way. Now, there are three main concerns why these customs officials even resort to things like burning counterfeit goods. One first major concern is the concern of cost. Now, these are governmental organizations, the customs authorities, and they have limited budgetary constraints and they have limited budgetary resources. So, their preferred method of disposing of these counterfeit goods, which are coming in from the ports and through the airports, are by burning, which is a cheap alternative to them, and it does not have them worried about coordinating with organizations for recycling or dismantling of these counterfeit goods. There are a lot of counterfeit goods, as Apurva had already explained. not only fast fashion, but also things like blenders and, alcohol. All of these spurious goods are made by people. And there are different methods of disposing of all of these goods. You can't resort to just burning or just landfilling all of these goods. Now, the legal frameworks for all of these waste disposal systems, especially in India, they are already there. India has the plastic waste management rules, the battery waste management rules, as well as the e-waste management rules. But none of these are implemented by governmental authorities, nor is there a proper check on how these counterfeit goods are destroyed. Moving on to the last goal, which is directly affected with counterfeiting and piracy, is the maintenance of peace, justice, and strong institutions. On the left, I have reproduced clause 16.4 of the UN SDGs, which says that by 2030, significantly reduce illicit financial and arms flows, strengthen the recovery and return of stolen assets, and combat all forms of organized crime. Now, one may obviously organized crime, one may obviously think of Peaky Blinders for those initiated, but organizations like the ISIS, Al Qaeda, the Taliban, when it was a terrorist organization, Boko Haram, these are all organizations which primarily depend on illicit arms and the sale of illicit drugs for their profits and to run their organizations. But recently they've also come to realize that selling of counterfeit goods is a very easy way of for them to make money. The reason, these are not taxed. You'll obviously, when you go to people staying in Delhi, people living here would know that going to the markets in Delhi, you'll come across a number of counterfeit goods, and whether it be in fashion or whether it be in mobiles and electronics. These are all not taxed by the government bodies. Most of these goods are sold by sellers who are on the road or on footpaths. Which government body is coming to tax them? Now, by coordinating with multiple such small vendors and sellers, people from organized crime networks can actually turn sale of counterfeit goods into a very large scale profitable business, which is why counterfeiting affects the 16th goal of the United Nations. Now, what is the Indian judiciary's take on this? The Indian judiciary has recently come up with a lot of very distinct and very counterintuitive judgments to tackle counterfeiting and piracy. Now, in this image here, you can see that the producer, manufacturer of Dawat Rice, LT Foods Limited, had filed a case against another counterfeiter who had taken his exact packaging and was selling spurious rice, which is low quality grains of rice, to the public. Now, of course, Dawat as a company ensures that it processes the rice with good chemicals for your good health, but the counterfeiter does not have such an incentive to do so. He wants, again, said profits. For those with a keen eye, they would notice that perhaps on the bottom left of the counterfeiter's image, there's something written as Redmi 9 Prime. This just one of the various methods to spot a counterfeit is to actively look at the packaging of the product and to scan the entire product to understand whether it is the original or not. But of course, who has the time to scan products in such detail when buying? Now, the Delhi High Court has obviously come up very strictly on such counterfeiters. Louis Vuitton, when it came to court against another seller, Capital General Store in this case, was a seller of counterfeit goods and not a manufacturer. Now, this defendant actually took up the defense that, hey, I am not manufacturing these goods. I am only selling these goods, so I should not be made liable. You should go and catch the manufacturers. But the Delhi High Court, a line has been reproduced here by me, came down heavily on such people as well, saying that counterfeiting has serious repercussions on the fabric of the national economy. And a counterfeiter obviously abandons any form of justice which may be available to him. In this case, the Louis Vuitton case, Delhi High Court awarded a cost and damages of 10 lakhs to Louis Vuitton from Capital General Store. In another case of 2019, UTV Software Communication versus one of the torrented websites. This was actually a collection of suits where UTV was not alone. UTV, along with Netflix, Disney, Hotstar, uh, and a number of other huge production businesses filed suits in the nature of dynamic injunctions against torrented websites and websites which were offering their movies for free. Now, what is a dynamic injunction? One may ask, obviously. Injunction obviously refers to something where court restrains a person or a company from doing a particular act. A dynamic injunction is issued when the court feels that the plaintiff need not come to the court again and again, and I will issue one general order by way of which this plaintiff can time and again just show this order to the concerned authorities, and they will take in this particular case, the particular websites down. So this was a very landmark decision in the realm of piracy and anti-piracy, where the main topic, contested topic, was of hydra-headed websites. Basically, what happens when you take down a very malicious website which is offering someone's movies for free is that at the immediately another website is popped up with perhaps just one numerical change. For example, 1337x in this case may be changed to 1337y. And the public may be informed through some spurious forums and uh, chat apps such as telegrams that, hey, we have changed the website. This website is down. We've now initiated a new website. So you can download those movies for free. And this entire case was against this practice of people so easily creating websites and uploading movies on that websites immediately after one of their old websites is taken down. So the court issued a dynamic injunction and said that these plaintiffs need not come to the high court again and again, incurring substantial litigation costs. And they may just show this one order which I have created to the concerned authorities, being the Government of India and the Ministry of Technology, and they may take down the spurious websites. Very recent case just of Glaxo Group, which came around just a few days back, concerning Schedule H drugs. Now, in under the Drugs and Cosmetics Act, Schedule H drugs are those drugs which cannot be sold over the counter. Right. Where, for example, you cannot go to a pharmacist or you cannot go to a pharmacy and ask for this drug. They will actually require you to show a prescription. That is a Schedule H drug. Now, the counterfeiters in this case were selling these exact spurious goods of betnesol of the plaintiff in a manner that they were not a person could easily take these drugs over the counter. One need not need a prescription from a doctor for buying these counterfeit goods, even when the ingredients for these goods were the same as the one in betnesol. Which is why the Delhi High Court had remarked that piracy in pharmaceutical products assumes greater significance as it has potential impact on the public health and hence requires a stricter approach. 10 lakhs of costs were awarded to the plaintiff, and of course, injunctions were granted against the defendant. Now, what is the solution to all of these counterfeit products, which we see everywhere around us? First and foremost is education. Education, I cannot emphasize how important it is to educate everyone around us of not to buy counterfeit goods and how to spot counterfeit goods when you come across one. Usually, brands do this. Companies like Samsung, Apple, 3M, which is a company which manufactures tape and other industrial products. These are all companies which are very popular in their campaigns of making people aware of how to spot spurious goods and counterfeit goods and what to do when you do spot one. That is, a consumer is expected to report it to the company, the original company. Next is anti-counterfeit technologies. Obviously, the ones which I've listed here are just a few of the technologies which a company can implement. For example, we have a client of ours who uses a very particular mode to identify whether his whether a consumer buying his goods is original or not. So he has a scratch and SMS scheme system where you scratch the back of the product, you have a code, you SMS the code to a number on WhatsApp, and you'll immediately get a reply from his automatic WhatsApp messages. You'll immediately get a reply saying whether this a particular code belongs to a original good or whether it's a counterfeit good. That's just one of the many manners in which brands are taking up the challenge against counterfeit goods. Third is, of course, legal methods. As I've already explained, as you've already seen in these cases, the courts are very prompt in cases of counterfeiting and piracy, and they really award not just injunctions but also, as you've seen here, damages to the plaintiffs who come to the court, so their costs in coming to the court are minimized. One of the next methods in tackling counterfeiting is a very unorthodox method, that is of licensing. You license your products. You take up manufacturers, take business deals, make business deals, and enter into agreements with manufacturers in a particular area or in a particular city, state, or country, and you have them sell your licensed products. What this essentially does is minimize the chances of fake sellers. Basically, manufacturers may not be incentivized to go and produce or contract with some counterfeit people who want to make counterfeit products. And this also helps in situations, for example, in many license agreements in the IP world here, we have clauses which say that licensee has a responsibility to take action against a counterfeit product. So anytime a licensee comes across a counterfeit product or is made aware of any pirated goods being sold, he would be contractually liable to take action against such a manufacturer, which again saves the costs of the main original seller, right? And obviously, a lot of other incentives are granted by the original sellers in entering these license contracts, but you get the idea. When you can't defeat the enemy, just make the enemy your friend, right? That's the entire concept behind licensing in the case of counterfeiting. Before concluding, I'll just like to focus on 4 points. First is, of course, don't promote. It's very easy to buy counterfeit goods. It's very easy to just buy some counterfeit Puma products or Nike shoes. I've been there, done that. But coming into the IP world, I've understood the very large scale impact which counterfeit products can have on not just an individual, but the society at large. Right? You may not be impacted by buying a fake product, but hundreds and thousands of you going to the market to buy such products will definitely incentivize manufacturers to make counterfeits more and not make quality products anymore. Second is, of course, report. Whenever you see such instances, report either to the main brand itself, or you can report it to the governmental authorities. On Twitter, you can tag the ministries. You can report which markets are selling such goods. Of course, you will no action would be taken against you because you would be protected under the Good Samaritan laws. But do report. Third is be vigilant. Now, I myself was almost a victim of counterfeit purchase. Recently on Myntra, I was purchasing a Puma shirt. And when I got the product, I noticed, obviously, perhaps my years of experience in this field may have made me become more vigilant in noticing a counterfeit product. But I noticed that the tagging was off, or the quality of the product, the logo here and there. There were some instances which gave it away. Immediately return the product, but be vigilant. That is the third point to remember in dealing with counterfeits. And fourth is teach everyone around you, including yourself, not to promote counterfeiting, not to always report counterfeit products, and to always be vigilant. And that concludes my presentation as well as Apurva's presentation. If anyone has any questions, I think one can take up questions now, or perhaps after Anmolji's presentation thereafter?
Sure, so we can take questions after Mr. Anmol's session. A very big thank you to you for your engaging session, and thank you for sharing so much of knowledge and expertise with us. Last but not the least, we have Mr. Anmol Agarwal, sir, who is a distinguished professional with over 7 years of expertise in intellectual property industry. He holds a master degree in toxicology and is a registered patent agent. His extensive experience encompasses various facets of IP, including patent drafting, analytics, prosecution, and due diligence, particularly in sectors like agrochemicals, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, and startups. His valuable contributions extend to advising on both technical and legal aspects of patenting and IP matters. He has notably served as an IP consultant with a leading Indian agrochemical company and the Indian Council of Medical Research, which shows his commitment to advancing innovation and protecting intellectual property rights. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Anmol Agarwal.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for having me here today. Wishing everyone a very happy Intellectual Property Day, World Intellectual Property Day. So, before I begin my presentation and walk you through the green tech and intellectual property, so for everything there is a reason to exist. So, how I define this is if we can understand basically three principles: why, when, and how. If we have answered to these three questions, we can easily understand anything, any technology, whether it is law, into our personal lives or in our professional lives. So when I say why, when, and how, so what is the need of green technology? Why it is required? When was the need felt that we need to have green technologies for us or for our betterment, and how we were able to achieve those objectives of having green technologies? So I'll just share my screen and show you a quick presentation which we have just prepared to walk you through. Is the screen visible?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay. So we were discussing why do we need to have green technologies, and why are these in news and discussion everywhere, and we are also discussing it here today. The need for green technologies. Why? If we go back to 17th, 18th century, there was a rapid industrialization of products, automation of processes, bumper production of products, cars, technologies. So that led to the exploitation of the environment, which eventually led to deteriorating water resources, air, everything around us was exploited. Landscape, accumulation of waste in terms of landfills, garbage. So that is when the need was felt. Why it was required? Because of industrialization. When we felt it, we have been feeling it for last 50, 60 years with the depletion of ozone layers and the environment we are living in. The people in living in NCR can very much accept the fate we go through every winters in terms of the city turning out into smoke chambers. So this is what, when we felt the need of the green technologies, and how we are achieving it, we are changing our lifestyle, we are changing the technology, we are changing the processes. When I say we are changing our lifestyle, we are switching from petrol, fossil fuel vehicles to EV vehicles. So this is one of the change which is evident to all of us. Government is also incentivizing those things. We have subsidies for using or purchasing e-vehicles. We have tax benefits if one purchases an e-vehicle. We have subsidies for installing solar panels into our societies, our homes, or even educational institutes. So this is what the three basic principles of having green technologies: the need, when, and how are we going to achieve it. So what basically green technology is the use of science and engineering to conserve our nature or environment resources, so that the negative impact which the human involvement, or rather the human greed, has created can be managed or minimized with our technologies. So why do we need to have intellectual property clubbed with green technologies? If it is so much required, why can't we let it go free as a free flowing technologies without any restriction of patents, trademarks, or copyright for that matter? The need is to be able to distribute the technologies uniformly to the countries. For example, if we do not have IP protection, the low income countries or the third world countries will be able to get the technologies faster. They will be able to make it, but they won't be able to do so even if we waive off the IP rights, because technology always involves a role of knowledge transfer. The institutes or the inventors who have developed a technology will be knowing its basic nuances, which are essential for any organization or individual to replicate the technologies in a proper manner. So IP rights are by default required for the core innovators or innovator companies to have the full benefit of their investments or the amount they pour in to develop a new technologies. Once the IP rights are waived off, I don't believe big MNCs or corporate houses will be interested in pouring in money and resources to develop new technologies. I'll just quickly walk you through a few of the green technologies. These can be broadly classified into hydropower, solar energy, geothermal energy, wind energy, bioenergy. So this is what the trend has been on the rise. The total global output of the energies from various green technologies has been constantly increasing. And when we look at the solar energy, this will have a rampant increase for the last 4 years, because the government of India is also promoting one world, one grid project, which is primarily related to the use of solar energy for powering the need of industries or houses and everywhere where require the electricity to be used. So there has been exponential increase in the outputs or the adoption of the technologies which are green in use. And when we talk about the green buildings, green technology will be incomplete without discussing about the green buildings. What exactly are green buildings? Green buildings encompasses a ambit of technologies. This could be with regard to the raw materials being used. The raw materials are produced either using green technologies in terms of cement production, in terms of the method of laying the foundation, and the chemicals being used. So green technologies, green buildings will have a structural difference in terms of the materials and the architecture it has, and installation of solar panels at the time of construction itself. So these are few things which makes a building green, and the need to have these buildings, these technologies have been felt, and increasingly we are made to do so by the government policies or the requirement of United Nations, as we were discussing it earlier. These are few of the path-breaking innovations which have happened in this green technology domain. The solar window is one of the very interesting innovation which I came across recently. It is basically a photovoltaic cell which is transparent, and it can be coated onto the windows, and it will still harness the solar energy and convert it into electricity by still allowing the light to enter into the rooms. It will function like an ordinary window, a normal window, but it will be able to produce electricity by using the solar energy. So these are few interesting innovations which are going on and changing the landscape of green technologies. A biodegradable plastic has been made from the fish waste. So these are all global innovations. Slowly and steadily, we will be using them, seeing them in our surroundings as we are in the global world. So this is something which is very much keen and essentially required for today's world. As we have also gone through the basics type of IP. So the same question here also arises, why we need IP? We need IP to incentivize the innovators or the first movers, though those people who actually invest time and money to come up with new solutions to our existing problems. So they need to be incentivized. If they don't have any right to stop others from copying them, why will they invest their resources into it? So IP by default promotes the environment of innovation and encourages everyone to look into the world of innovations. So importance of green technology is to be felt, and why it is linked with the IP, it is because innovation must be safeguarded to encourage further innovation and make expensive research profitable. For instance, if I am working into the domain of EV, I come up with a path breaking battery which can last for 2 days or 3 days maybe. But the time is spent to arrive at that particular battery, which can fuel my car or power my car or my scooty for two-wheeler for that matter. So the amount and time invested in the research could be amounting from few years up to few $1 billion, which could have been invested by an organization. So the organization need to reap the benefit of the investment they have made. And how can they make reap the benefit? This can be possible by the protection of IP. Could be primarily patents, and then trademarks also do play an important role, and design protection. Distinguishing green innovators in the market, you can obviously make out the different number plates being allotted to the EV vehicles. So you can easily make out this is a EV vehicle or this is a fossil fuel powered vehicle. So these are the importance of distinguishing the technologies as well as the innovators. The government is also promoting at a global scale as well as in India the innovations, and a legal framework for resolving IP related disputes, which Yashvardhan and Apurva have briefly discussed, the different forums available to the IP owners in case they have some dispute or someone is copying their technology or their logos. So these are the importance and the role of IP into green technologies. So when we talk about the patenting ecosystem into green technologies, these are few numbers. As we can see from 2016-17, the numbers of green patents. Green patents, what we mean is the either they are related to process of greener innovations or to a product. So they have been constantly increasing the number of filings into green technology. That means the major players, along with the small innovators, are slowly and steadily moving a move towards greener projects, greener ways of doing things. This could be a way of producing a pharmaceutical molecule, a agrochemical molecule, or for example, making a shirt which we usually wear, a fabric, making a greener path or a greener process to arrive at the particular fabric which we are using, which could be reduction in the amount of water being used to produce a particular fabric, or it could be the reduction in the amount of chemical being used during, to produce a particular fabric. So green patents are primarily segregated into alternative energy production, could be solar energy, could be wind energy conservation, nuclear power, and waste management. Waste management is also an essential challenge which we usually face, and Delhi for sure has a problem of managing its waste. So waste could be e-waste or household waste. So there are companies coming up with better ways of recycling the waste which we produce every day. So these are some of the areas wherein the patent filing has been increasing. So once we see the number of patent filing increasing, it can be assessed and can be definitely said that in coming years we will be making a transition in terms of the technology and in terms of the product which we use, and obviously the cost of the products are going to eventually reduce in few sectors and might increase in few other sectors also. These are few of the global initiatives which are promoting green technologies. WIPO Green Initiative, Global Debate. These are different forums which are available for the innovators and for the institutes and individual interested in knowing more about the path-breaking technologies, particularly the green technologies. India's patent search. So the number of filing has drastically improved in India, and the chunk related to green technology has also increased. So this is evident that the companies and innovators are making serious effort to make a transition towards a greener future and a greener earth. So what are the challenges in green technology? Green challenges possessed by the IP can be a patent thicket. Patent thicket could be for example, while installing a solar panel onto my office building, I might be infringing a multiple patents, more than one patent. So this is what patent thicket is: a combination of patent protecting a particular technology or a particular product or a process, which will be essentially required to perform or make that particular product. So this is what these are different challenges which are being possessed by the green technologies makers and users. IP incentives, intellectual property law foster innovation as we have already discussed and crucially attract investments, which Yashwardhan was also discussing. A country with which have strong IP laws and enforcement available usually attract investment from across the globe. This is what the intent of Government of India is presently, to have a IP friendly environment in India, which will eventually attract more investors into the domain of green technologies. International tech transfer, these are one of the challenge which we usually fall, which we come across all the technologies and domains. The transfer of technologies is something which requires skill sets from the expert to transfer it to the different organization or countries for that matter while transferring a technology. So what could be a way out to overcome these challenges? This could be a patent pool, compulsory license. Compulsory license is a government way of allowing other to manufacture a patented technology if there is a need and specific provisions available under the Indian Patent Act. Open innovation, this is one of the things which Tesla usually does. They make their innovations open to all, and anyone can take it as a stepping stone and build upon from that point to scale up those technologies. So these are few challenges and way out to overcome these challenges. These are few incentives which are available for the innovators working into the green tech domain. Green hydrogen, Startup India initiative, green building incentives. We are expecting a new foreign trade policy which will be incentivizing green technologies, electric mobility and emission standards, green credit program. Few incentives which are essentially required to motivate someone to deep dive into the world of green technologies. Sustainable development goals and green technology, I believe I need not to discuss much into it. This has been already discussed in the earlier session. And the future of green technology will be combined with AI. AI will be everywhere in coming days. Market market will always be linked. The economics always play a role in any adoption of any technology. That is why we have subsidies being available for EV vehicles as well as solar panels installation. Smart infrastructure which is required for adoption of green technologies. What could be smart infrastructure? For example, for EV vehicles, we need to have charging station or charging points available so that a person doesn't has to worry about the distance he can travel using his EV vehicle. Innovative solution, AI will obviously play a role in it, and AI is uh, expected to revolutionize the green technology sector. So this is all from my end. The AI will obviously play a role in green technology, and intellectual property rights are to be looked into when we talk about green technology. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, sir. Your invaluable insights have truly enriched our workshop experience. Before we conclude our workshop, does anyone have any questions? There don't seem to be any questions, sir. As we draw this enlightening workshop to a close, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to each and every one of you who contributed to making this event a resounding success. First and foremost, a heartfelt thank you to our esteemed speakers, Mr. Anmol Agarwal, Mr. Yashwardhan Singh, and Ms. Apurva Bhutani. Your insightful presentations and invaluable expertise have provided us with a deeper understanding of the intersection between green technology and IPR enforcement. Your dedication to advancing technology and knowledge in this field is truly commendable, and we are grateful for your time and effort. I would also like to express my gratitude to all the participants who joined us today. Your active participation, thought provoking scenarios, and eagerness to engage with enriched our discussions and made this workshop truly interactive and engaging. A special word of thanks to the organizing team and volunteers. Last but not the least, I extend my thanks to our audience. Your presence here today underscores the importance of collaborative efforts. We look forward to seeing you again, sir. Wishing you all the continued success and innovation in your endeavors. Thank you and have a very good day.
Just to add on to this, if someone has any question, they can share it with your the faculty members. We will be sharing our email ID and we'll be happy to answer your queries.
Sure, sir. Thank you. Please share your email IDs in the chat box.
Sure.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. We have got it. Thank you. Thank you for joining. It was really an insightful session.